That's why I go by on Twitter. It's locked. I just do that to keep all the bots away. This is what we've been talking through here. Go through a little bit about who I am and where I come from and all that. Systems thinking, as far as a way to look at whatever problems you're going about. We're talking about 3 different modeling tools that maybe you can use in your systems. Something to consider. A little bit of higher math involved, but I think there's some useful things that floating around out there too much. So my standard disclaimer kind of thing. You know, this is me. I'm not speaking for someone else. I think I cited everything I needed to. If I didn't, sorry. Did my undergrad in electrical engineering at Boston University. You know what the Boston University mascot is? Anybody?
Slutty girl?
No.
I should know
There's a
that.
field running around. No, not the mascot.
Should I see?
That's a dog.
Bulldog.
Nope.
Bulldog?
Poodle.
Nope.
Terrier. Boston Terrier.
Terrier.
Yep. All right. Got my master's at UVA. Mascot. All right. Made that easy.
Your expertise.
So, spent a little time in the Army, shot big guns, rockets and stuff, sling around paperwork. I did go postal. And my current job, kind of know something about computers. I got the Sax Doctor moniker because I was the guy that was the first stop when things were broken in the van before we actually sent off to the real guy. And I managed to fix about 75% of the points. At least get them up for a little while longer before they were really broken. I'm kind of a cheapo. I think total, I spent about $50 in the beer going contest. So I like to look at things from a third-person perspective, a little bit big picture kind of guy. I think I'm good at that. Might think I'm a lot, that's okay. So I'll start off today. Know your enemies, know yourself, win. Know yourself, know your opponent. If you don't know your opponent, you might win. And if you know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will lose. I started off with that. The problem that we have in a lot of our networks is understanding, one, what is on our network, and two, if somebody is doing something bad on it. If you're an organization with 3 letters that everyone probably has seen a lot of in the news, one of the problems if they're doing this is looking at over 15 terabits per second. That's approximate, Cisco, at least what Cisco said, is going across the internet every second. Trying to make sense of all of that and figure out what does it mean to me. That's kind of a big problem. Obviously, in our own networks, smaller networks, we're dealing more in the megabit per second, maybe gigabit per second range. It's still a problem trying to sift through all of that and figure out some kind of methodology to figure out if there's something that I can glean from all of this information floating around. One thing that I think that I'll hit on a little bit later as well is that I think a lot of people get wrapped around the axle about tools. They get really excited about a tool and think that a particular tool is going to solve all the problems rather than really thinking through a problem. So one thing I encourage us all to do is in our networks is to look at it with top-down approach. Look at, you have goals for your network. My network has to be able to do this. Everybody's system's a little bit different. You have different things you're trying to do with it, but you need to be able to have a objective goal that you can quantify. If you don't have a reason why that goal is important, then why do you have a goal in the first place? If your network doesn't have a purpose, why is it there? Be able to optimize what you have. You need to be able to also take a look at the system and figure out, just based on the way it's designed, what is that system's value. For all you CISSP types, you have the CIA triad. With different types of applications, you're going to have different weight on confidentiality and integrity, and availability. Sometimes when you put a little bit heavier weight on one of those aspects, you're going to have to lighten up on one of the other aspects. You know, choose, you get the whole problem where you choose 2 out of 3, be fast, cheap, kind of thing. And another thing is don't build the problem around the tool. Find the tool that best suits the problem. Make sure that you're trying to solve the problem, not to create a problem that's not there. So in general, we want to know what's on, what is actually on the network, what's plugged into the network, what kind of things are running on the network, all the different boxes out there, router switches, servers, workstations, you know, what things are going on in each of those boxes, and are they doing the right thing? Is my router passing traffic correctly? Is it routing things to the right place? If I've got a server, is it operating correctly under load? Another thing we want to know is somebody trying to do something bad on my network, someone trying to steal my data, is someone trying to shut my stuff down, is someone trying to just be annoying to me. Being able to figure that out, and also figure out when you have a vulnerability and being able to effectively mitigate that. So that's kind of what I see as a problem with computer networks in general as far as what we're trying to do. So looking at kind of 3 different off the beaten path ways of looking at things. So with the Statespace model, what you're looking at is you have some equations that define your system, and they're set up in a linear algebra fashion. We're looking at things like, as far as state variables. If you look at the human body, for example, as a system, and you want to figure out what kind of state is the human body in. Maybe let's say good health and bad health, just to kind of keep it simple. State variables might be your blood pressure, your respiration rate, maybe your body chemistry, different levels of different chemicals in your bloodstream, that sort of thing. As far as inputs, obviously that's pretty self-explanatory. What's going in the system? The inputs are designed to make some kind of change in the system. We're trying to steer the system in some way, fashion, or form. What kind of things generate a state transition? Is there a combination of inputs? Are there certain kinds of inputs that you do that cause you to go from good state to bad state? For example, if one of your inputs into the human body system is alcohol, at a certain point, the alcohol generates a state transition into a bad state. If you have too much alcohol in the system. Thinking about how you put the system together, as far as looking at the different state variables and what you want to observe. Can you observe those things? Right now, in my current state, I can't tell you what my body chemistry is as far as how much uric acid is in my blood, how much potassium, how much sodium, all those kind of things. So those things are not observable currently as I am. And obviously I go to the doctor and they draw some blood and do that. But those are some of the things we got to look at when we do state-based modeling. So if you're not hopefully math doesn't scare you too much. This is the general form of a state-based model as far as you have your inputs, you have your outputs, and you have your state variables. This is a continuous time, so this is a first order derivative of the state. As an example, practical example, this is a discrete time version of Statespace equation set with the Apache server, so Apache web server. One of the things, to kind of keep it simple, one of the things we can look at is as far as the state of our server, what's the health of our server, what's it looking like, is the CPU utilization on the server and memory utilization. So we maxed out, or we chugging through, we have enough memory to actually pass data back and forth. As far as some of the input into the system, equalize as far as how long we're going to maintain connections, then the number of clients we're going to accept connections from. If the CPU utilization is way up high, maybe we should reduce the number of clients that are connected to the system. So that's that chunk right there. I'm not going to go into actually how to do this. That takes a couple of courses of upper level electrical engineering, control system kind of stuff. But ideally what you want to do is you want to figure out how can I look at my system? How can I look at what's happening in my system and derive some kind of way to control what's actually going into my system to affect it and give me what I want. I want my server to stay up as long as possible. I don't want it to get choked up. What can I do by looking at my system in order to do that? What looks like normal as far as you look at your traffic? Is my server operating within normal, what I would consider normal operating parameters? And when it's not, what can I see? Looking at a network, for example, what kind of purpose your network has? If it's if all you're doing is you just provide an email service, you probably shouldn't see a whole lot of traffic not related to providing email service. And again, just kind of recapping what we talked about up front. With an agent-based model, most agent-based models are focused on the interaction between the different agents, so the entities of your system that you're trying to model. One agent-based model, for example, might be a sheep, wolves, and grass model. Sheep eat the grass, wolves eat the sheep. You can also model much more complex systems. For example, you might want to do an agent-based model of a traffic intersection. You have traffic coming in from different areas. You can kind of model time of day as far as how many cars you expect to come along. You can model the interactions between the drivers. The interaction with drivers near Augusta is more akin to people that are driving, or at least they think that they're driving in NASCAR, as opposed to where it just came from Charlottesville, where people are a little bit more laid back and relaxed and not too aggressive. There's a lot of different attributes that you can look at, and one of the key things with agent-based modeling is figuring out how many of these things do I want to look at. Because the more attributes you look at, it just requires more data that you have to pile through. And then there comes a point where you may get so much data you can't do anything. Again, on the other end of it, if you don't have enough data coming in, you don't look at enough attributes of your system, you might not get an accurate picture of what is really going on. I don't know what everyone else's favorite tool to use to get access to something, but I like ninjas. So, what my partner and I did at the UVA, we used an agent-based model to do kind of a policy look at network intrusion. One of the things that we felt was that there's a lot of people that rely heavily on a tool. They want to buy this little tool that will solve all their problems rather than really look at what they have, what their problem is, figure out what the problem is, and then design something to fit that bill. I think all of us are kind of familiar with the development cycle there as far as when we have an attacker out there, the attacker finds a vulnerability, they exploit the vulnerability, we find that they've gotten into our stuff, we patch the vulnerability, the attacker comes back with something else, we try to find that, and the cycle just repeats itself. One of the things that we felt was that looking at the ideology behind the defense and policy was more important necessarily than the actual tool that you can employ. And the way we modeled that was we had ninjas that were trying to break into your network. Obviously, their key attributes are stealth and skill. Are they sneaky? Do they leave a trail of easily detect the trail behind them? And what kind of level of training do they have? What kind of experience do they have? And whatever their targets are, you call an organization, entity, what have you, they have a certain level of value, and as they get broken into, for example, if it's a business that has intellectual property, their value will go down in time that someone can actually get in there and grab that intellectual property, then go use it for themselves, they build a better product, and then, you know, the first company goes out of business. We utilize Net Logo. So if any of you remember logo from a kid, you know, they have a little turtle, little triangle turtle, you tell them, you know, 420, right, 90, you know, draw a circle or something like that. Net Logo, actually, you get to do that, but it's even a little bit more. You can customize the turtles, if you will, and also you can have as many turtles as your computer can computationally handle. So this is our interface, and we let the simulation run a bunch of different times, looking at different factors as far as to see where there's some kind of breaking points. As far as comparing the skill level of the attacker's skill level with defenders, the numbers of attackers and defenders, and trying to figure out if there's some correlations in there. Also, started looking rudimentarily at the life cycle of equipment. You know, for example, we're still using Windows XP. This is kind of the methodology we went through. The attackers looking for a target, they find a target, they attack the target. If it's successful, they have the potential to cause some damage to the organization, and also there's a potential for the attacker to be discovered on his day, and basically kind of put it together as a challenge with the stealth versus the skill, security of the organization, the skill of the attackers as far as being able to get into the organization, and also stealth to see if they can actually be able to detect it. And we were D&D geeks, so we started out with, we used a very simple probability adjustment to it. But you can go back in there, and you can also use a percentile type of randomization as well. So this is kind of some of the things. It seems pretty intuitive as far as we have the number of attackers over time. Over time, as the attackers are found, they die off. As far as the amount of damage they cause over time, the longer they're allowed to be there, the damage they get. Also with the number of organizations over time as well, they decrease because they're being put out of business by attackers. A couple of the interesting things we found. There's always some interesting dynamics that you can find in an agent-based model because there's just underlying themes that may not be present in the equation as well. One of the things we found was when we had lower levels of skill on the attackers was that the amount of damage they caused, as you can see, didn't really get up there too much. And it took, in some cases, it kind of took a more gradual slope. One of the things we found with the more skilled defenders, they caused a lot more damage a lot more quickly, but at a certain point they leveled off. And basically, this we found was the value, basically the value of the organization. They took everything they needed, they moved on. So we attributed that also to the value of the organization that they're attacking. The higher value organizations are going to have obviously a lot more damage. The skill level of those guys would be going after that kind of entity. A couple of the different things, again, being able to model a policy. Maybe you can set up your agents, if you will, as different entities with policy effects, and try to model the interaction between that and other entities in your system. Figure out either general rates of events happening, or maybe figuring out how likely a certain thing is going to happen. Everyone's favorite course, stats. one of the biggest things we can do with stats is really just figure out what does normal look like. We have all sorts of different data that's collected up on networks, logs all over the place. Taking that over time, looking at it statistically, maybe you can find some different trends as far as what is supposed to be there. You can find different events that might be outliers. I don't know a whole lot of folks that actually look at the statistics of the network. I know more people are doing that. In years past, I haven't seen a lot of that. Any fantasy football fans out there? So, one year I took basically all the data, win-loss ratio, trying to figure out like what's the our league, what's the key factor. So when you do baseball, what's the one key stat you're looking for? If you're doing baseball. No.
On base percentage.
No. Slugging percentage. Slugging. So it's a combination of the batting average and also the stats as far as like hitting doubles, triples, home runs. Basically, it seemed to be Moneyball. So that was the development of that. Basically, once they found that stat, everybody started running to that and figuring out, okay, this is how we make our money. We optimize that, and we optimize our wins. So this is what I came up with. My model wasn't as great as I hoped it would be. This is what the model was. So kind of track. This is what the real thing was. So here, the black line, the brown. Not so bad. Not too bad. But on the final week, I basically fed it all the way through week 14 and had to try to model week 15 and tell me what it would do. And this is the range it gave me, so most likely there, and then kind of trailed off. And obviously, the team I modeled, this is the winning team from our league, and I figured that would be a good way to do it. And unfortunately, that particular week, he had like his bad week that week. So maybe not so much on that one, but another thing that we can do with linear regressive models is using time series analysis as far as trying to find out when things are happening, trying to find if something is happening on a recurrent basis. Doing that by doing autocorrelation functions on there, you can pull that information out of your data. One thing that this is actually the basics of span filtering is having a statistical model of different items. And this data was done out of UC Irvine, and they've got it out. We've got a set out there that you can pull down. They analyzed email and broke it down into spam and non-spam handlers. You can go there. You can do your own statistical analysis on it. So this is what I ended up coming up with using some different models. In a similar sense, you want to have in some kind of detection model, you want a low false positive. So in other words, if I say it's, low false negative, you don't want to let through, you don't want to let spam through. This is correctly identifying spam. This is correctly identifying your real emails. Obviously, you don't want your real emails to go to the spam folder. So, using these different models, trying to optimize what the false positive and false negative rates. And this is kind of some of the analysis you do as far as the principal components. You're trying to find, these were all the different indicators that were in that particular data set. And these are kind of overlaid. So this, you see this kind of gray in the background there, and this is about right here. So it's kind of a little bit more different scale. All these little red dots were spam messages, and you can see that they kind of align all these different components here as far as those indicators in the data set. So, looking at your data, doing your own linear regressive models, maybe find some of this kind of information as far as if you had, historically, if you had different intrusions, if you had potentially just looking for trends as far as installation of software, what have you. There's a lot of different things you can go through in the data. For that,
What were the axes of those graphs?
the axes, what it is when you do the principal component analysis, it comes up with just components along where as you can see, this is actually like it's a translation on the axes. It comes up with its own components. It's not any one of these data fields. It ends up being something completely different that's generated inside of the analysis. So it's kind of on its own. You can basically kind of see that the way that this was done is there's I put this together a little while ago, so it's not it lines up generally when you do analysis. There's a lot of analysis actually turns out different. So what you're trying to find is what kind of correlation as far as you see all these indicators here all lined up along. A little bit unconventional way of looking at things. I didn't go too much in depth in a long time. Maybe some different ideas people can use in your own analysis. Hope that helps. Questions? Yes, sir.
You had a slide earlier looking at a Apache server.
Yes.
Just put that up one more time. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be a little over my head, but can you just give like a rough overview of what it is you're looking at, that formula you have on top?
So this is actually because it's a discrete time because you're dealing with a computer, you're looking at like time slot 1, time slot 2, not so much continuous time. But you have to go back through. I didn't put it in here for the sake of time. You derive this from looking at the actual system. Every server is a little bit different depending on what you put down for your. In this instance, as far as what your optimal CPU utilization, you put that in. Put in what your optimal memory utilization is, and then those become part of the matrix. So because those two parameters, this ends up being a 2x2. This ends up being a 2x2. This ends up being a 2x1 matrix. The C matrix in this case, basically, it's just one. It's just your output is just what's going on here. I didn't want to go too into that.
Right.
I didn't know what kind of crowd I have as far as people actually like doing system analysis. I can probably dig from around there and pull up the example for so that's just.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, that's cool. I just found it really interesting because as on the double E side, learning control systems, you're thinking about and watching things spin around and trying to keep mechanical things in line. I never until I started looking at some of these topics about a year ago, I never thought about using control systems kind of theory working into computational environments. So it was new to me. So it seems to be relatively, I don't think a whole lot of people have been doing it over the last little bit, but I think you can do the problem is just you want to as far as server utilization, resource utilization. This have this as a state space, I can do something like, I can do predictive analysis with, for example, like common method, I know that I do some, I can expect, like, this is what I can expect over here with a certain probability, and if I go out of that, then I know something wrong. Right. So, again, trying to apply that to an intrusion problem on a network. What would you want to use as your state variables in that problem? So that's kind of what the problem is, trying to find a good way of doing it. Maybe looking at a box as far as like a, let's say it's a server or workstation. Maybe we use state variables, what processes are running, what ports are open, things like that.
The problem with that paper and the reason that you don't see systems like that actually being implemented in production anywhere is you can usually have much more dramatic impacts on the usability of your system by just building out more tiers to your infrastructure, having a reverse caching proxy tier, that kind of thing, than you can by trying to have a script. That's pretty dangerous. You've got scripts monkeying with input variables on Apache, which you pretty quickly end up doing is just breaking the box and having to reboot.
So I did this as real simple because I haven't actually gone through it. I know that looked at this on the control systems aspect. I haven't dug in much into it, but I don't know what people have done on the source side, what kind of methodology they use for using the control system, and actually try to went through it, calculate it all.
I'm assuming you pulled this from the paper that they were on that a while back. There was a fairly famous paper that actually applied control systems directly to managing max clients on Apache servers. And it was pretty well received in academia, but nothing has been done with that in production for, in my opinion, pretty good reason.
Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it. No questions? Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.